Thanks, Donna. I will be very brief, which is that no, to my knowledge, with the Supreme Court having heard the case a handful of weeks ago, and they have said that they are going to issue a decision in time for what the Census Bureau has said is like June benchmark time for starting to print materials. So we're expecting a decision, but have not had one yet. And so, you know, UPlan has not been super plugged into the many national advocacy groups that are working on various aspects of census, but to the extent that I have been kind of monitoring the emails that I'm on listservs of, there doesn't seem to be much of a push advocacy-wise on this right now, and I think there's a lot of other stuff going on in Congress right now. So UPlan has been in a bit of waiting for a decision mode.
And that's what we thought, and that's what led to C being something we would keep on the radar, but we didn't feel like we needed to keep doing the advocacy for at this point. Thank you, Erin. And so let's go to A. Again, we are a small group, and so I ask you to think about both A and B in two different ways. One, is there one that you would want to be a part of? Two, how do we engage others around doing this strategy for the census as a collective? And so let's start with A. Is there anyone who's here now who feels like, yes, this is something I feel like I would like to be working on the ground and working to plan with some other members of this team to create a strategy of hosting local in-person information sessions?
This is Erin. I can share so this is with my Erin Moore as UPlan National Organizer hat on. What I'm about to say is not an officially vetted position of the UPlan Governing Council. This is me speaking to the best of my sense of where folks are at. Mm-hmm. I think there are a couple of UPlan member groups who are either are interested in A, and possibly one that is moving. The one that may be moving is in Fresno, California, our partner Parent Institute for Quality Education. Okay. I know there is a parent leader who has been working with some local experts, and I'm not super abreast on where that work stands. And my sense from the UPlan Immigration Policy Committee calls, which is where we've mostly talked about this, is that there are both parents and organizations who would be interested in A, but need support on, you know, what does the information session agenda look like? How would we shape that? How would we find the local experts we could invite to present? How would we vet them to make sure they were trusted? So I think people are interested, but wanting support.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Erin. Paul, are you familiar with any of the work that I think Joanne has been involved with one of your partners in Mississippi around the census? And I got the impression it was also on a local level. Are you familiar with that work?
And I am not, because we're kind of stressed out, you know, in rural areas. And she's, you know, good distance from me. I'm not familiar with what they're doing, and that's one of the things that that I've been kind of doing here in central Mississippi area, especially in the rural counties. You know, and this is a countywide election year. Is speaking, going to the local churches, and speaking, informing them about voting, informing about the census, so that we can make sure that we can get everybody counted, because it's very important. Because we lost a couple of representatives in Mississippi, and probably because we didn't get a good, accurate census count. So, but that's what I've been doing here, still trying to push the issue. Although I have not been connected with Joanne or Shona.
Great. As you push the issue, are you representing, though, as Parents for Public Schools in your leadership with that organization, or representing as a parent leader in another capacity?
And kind of both.
Okay.
Because I'm also the president of the school board.
Wow.
So, you know, that kind of opens more doors to allow me to speak to a group of people. So it's been whatever gets me in front of the masses.
I got you. You choose what hat to wear, right?
Right.
In the group. I understand.
You know, same message, you know, but whatever hat you want me to wear, you know, I wear it.
Awesome. And speaking of wearing hats, I don't know if you're aware of this, Paul. Since we were all together in Rochester, Ricardo, who's on the line from Greater Rochester PLTI, he's actually currently running for school board in his community.
Okay, great. Because we definitely need people that are concerned about our kids to be on school board. And usually that's one of the lowest election turnouts, but one that has the most impact.
Yeah, we definitely understand that. So, Ricardo, I spoke your name. Any thoughts around A, or are you waiting to jump in on B?
No, even on A, I just think that when we speak about supporting, finding the experts, and I think we need to find the trusted person and then make them an expert, because it's really a trust factor here with this immigration issue. You got it. It really is. And so we have to, for people to even listen, it's got to be a trusted person, and we got to find somebody that the community trusts, that they'll listen to, and then we just give them the training, the needed training, because this stuff here affects everybody. This sense of stuff, it reaches out and touches everybody, and so it's important that we be able to stress that point and make people realize it's affecting you too. It's affecting, if it affects maybe just the road, whether the road gets built or whatever, but it affects everybody. But I think we have to work from not so much the expert as working from the trusted person. And what I would like to see, like maybe from PLTI, I know that parents pick and choose what they want to work on. But I think we could maybe have a suggestion list up there at the beginning of September, the next cohort. If you can't think of nothing you want to work on, a speed bump or whatever, here's a suggestion. Maybe you want to work on that census.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Melvet, for capturing this. I just want to make sure we make sure we put Paul's name after point 2, so we don't miss that. So you're doing great. Okay. Patty, I know you are primarily in listening mode, but I just want to pause and make sure, see if you have any thoughts around A before I ask Melvet and add any of my thinking around this. You think that will be important for us to consider as we build out the strategy for A and sharing it with others? And is A one of the things you're interested in versus B? You're still muted.
Is that me?
Yes, that's you now.
Okay. I'm sorry, my it was a little spotty, the Wi-Fi there. So I think I'm thinking about capacity. So I would love to host something in maybe my local community. I'm part of the Complete Count committee of the state.
Okay.
So me joining that committee was after they had their big kickoff. So they're kind of like in limbo right now. They're waiting. So I was hoping to maybe learn more from them so that I can kind of like share more information. But I think that in my community in particular, where, you know, immigration is a big topic. We have people who are on all, I guess, places of the spectrum of whether they're documented or not, or why they're here, and what their status is. So I think this would be important for us in Danbury, Connecticut. I would initially say I would want to partner with our PLTI alumni to do something like that. But I think in partnership, as far as an expert, I would want to do it with the Complete Count Committee. Yeah.
And I think I would say ditto, Melvet, in terms of me working on some stuff here in Bridgeport. But then the other thought I had, based on the alumni pilot and the being like a statewide piece, wondered if you took the idea of the regional pieces, would this be something that we could do maybe in our regions, like something in Fairfield County, something in Hartford County, you know, where we have sites, something you have, that's just a thought that I wanted to toss out for you to think about, not necessarily to answer today, but could we do some type of regional kind of piece versus local, but inviting all of those local communities under the thing of PLTI, because I even wondered, did that offer some of that trust factor that Ricardo said? And then maybe we could even invite, from an MPLI standpoint, the all of the, you know, PLTI sites to host, you know, whether it's something local or something regional around informing, having parents be informed around the Census 2020. Mm-hmm. But and again, thinking because of the trust factor, if it's like sponsored by PLTI, and then of course in Connecticut using the expert that you talked about, but recommending that people consider who is that entity in their state, because there should be one, I'm assuming, in every state, and it might even be drilled down even to the local community. I think the challenge would be, because we don't know every local community, we can't necessarily say that all of these people are trusted, right? But I think if we know that they are, at least that they've been entrusted with the information, that we might have to start there. Anyone else before? Because we'll have to come back to the next steps around this.
I really hate talking about fear as a strategy, but I'm like looking here at overcoming the fear of taking the census. We have to be clear about, you might call it a fear tactic, but letting people know what's at stake. We have even, it might be a fear tactic, but it has to overpower fear, the other fear. Because it really is a lot at stake. But just saying that there's a lot at stake alone is not enough. There's not been enough to get people to vote, which is basically is a second cousin to getting people to vote, this census stuff. So it's a big take on, but we have to be really clear at the stakes, what people have to lose, man. And maybe a little fear tactic.
But is it more like just being very clear about the risk of what could be, what could we flip it? If we didn't want to go from a fear standpoint, right? If we wanted to say, what are the positive outputs or outcomes of doing the census, of like basically risking, the fear, like how it outweighs. I would go with your thing that what outweighs the potential outcomes and the impact outweigh the fear, like, could possibly help people override the fear. But I think for a lot of people, that fear can be immobilizing. And so, and it can be a place of shelter and in safety, that I hear about all these wonderful outcomes, but if I think that me completing something, the outcome will be I will be out of here, I will be removed from this country, or I will lose certain benefits that I have, I'm not sure what I think there's a sense of me understanding that they might decide not to rise above the fear. As much as I might hope for someone to do that, and I'm not in the situation, it's not the same level of fear for me. So I'm sensitive to that. So I'm just wondering, Erin, in the conversations with the Immigration Committee team of U-Plan, have there been any examples of how people might overcome the fear, or how parent leaders are helping other parents address the fear?
Yeah, a little bit. This is Erin. Yeah, one thing that we heard when, U-Plan was disseminating our tools, our advocacy tools around removing the citizenship question, but those tools also had an education component on what is the census and why is it important. We heard that having a parent-to-parent messenger giving that information was a powerful antidote to fear, and especially what we were talking in the context of the citizenship question. So we heard immigrant parent to immigrant parent. I, as a parent, am talking to you about why the census is important to me and what I'm going to do, was powerful. I think just, I don't know if this is about overcoming the fear. I mean, one person, the group in Fresno that I mentioned, the Parent Institute for Quality Education, member local group there, have a video on it. I'm in a mixed status household. I'm planning to fill out the census. Here's why.
Okay.
So those are two things that come to mind. The other thing we heard a lot was having education on what the census data is used for and why it's important, just in very simple, very clear terms with graphics and translated in multiple languages, that just having accessible educational materials on the basics can help parents feel grounded enough to like then dip their toe in the messy water of, well, now what does this mean to me? Like, I'm grounded with some real information from people I trust. Now I'm getting into the gray area of what this could mean for me.
I like that parent-to-parent piece. And I think when we were on one of our earlier calls, Sharice and I think Sharice represents a number of different organizations, but I'm thinking Parent Ambassadors and One America, she talked about that parent-to-parent piece, and she talked about the trust factor, Ricardo. I don't know if you were on that phone call, but where she said that that's what allowed the conversation to happen, because it was parent-to-parent, and there was also a relationship of trust that was being established. And so let's talk about how do we promote this as a strategy beyond the 6 of us that are on this call. How do we move these two pieces of A and B to move beyond just saying what what we think could happen? And so if we go back up to A first, thinking it will be important. If we are not individually interested, but it sounds like there's individual interest to explore other organizational interests for this, and in terms of hosting local in-person information sessions. But I also heard clearly us saying we probably would need to create the flow of what that information session might be like. So Melbette, I don't know if you've had any of your meetings yet with the expert within Connecticut, but do you know if there are templates already in existence
I think
that we could adapt from?
I think there might be.
Okay. So then one of the next steps is we're going to research and maybe begin to see, and I'm willing, unless someone else wants to take lead on this, MPLI can start this, but we don't want to do it alone. Like the how-to around the in-person information sessions. Or does anyone already know of a resource out there that spoke, if necessary?
This is Erin. Again, this is me responding, not the official UPlan Governing Council response, and I'm totally open to bringing this to their next meeting, which is in late June. But my sense, and I want to just be transparent, is that UPlan would love to share those documents, connect parents to giving feedback on them, and kind of help create some UPlan parent kind of co-ownership, so that folks are excited and actually use the documents, but that we do not have the capacity to help create them at this time.
Okay. So Erin, I just want to make sure I'm hearing right. If we kind of put like a draft together to share out with the other members of this team around Census, including you representing UPlan, and some UPlan parents are usually on board, you then would share it amongst UPlan parent leaders, get their input, feedback, and we'll make it better. Like, as we get input from all of the partner groups, so Paul, you would share it with Parents for Public Schools, and those other leaders who wanted to be on call will make sure they get it as well. Does that sound like a sensible next step?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Ricardo, again, because of that trust factor being so important, and also the role of PLTI, even though you're a part of MPLI, but you are PLTI, we would hope that you would also share it among alum in Greater Rochester, and get feedback. Would you be open? I know you're in a busy season, but would you be open to do that?
All right. I absolutely would, and I'm just trying to think of some way. We need to show people maybe a short clip of some success, because some of us have forgot the power we have. The organizing, what we can get done, man. Some amazing stuff has happened. I heard the stories when I was out in Denver with everyone, and I've heard the stories here in Rochester. We have to get back to motivating not just the community, even PLTI members, that we can organize and make something happen. We got to get back re-energized, and we can just look at ourselves to do that. Okay. And I think just from our core, we can try to make it happen. I'm going to try to make it happen. My hands ain't going to be full. My plate ain't going to be full no long time. The 25th is do or die.
Okay. Okay. All right. So then if we go back up to this piece, if we can work together in touching base with our partner, and if anyone else has, as you're just kind of Googling and doing other things, you come across something that you say, hey, this will be probably important or could be included in the, we probably have to come up with some type of tagline, right now I'm just in my head for a placeholder, parents count, or something around counting for this, I'm thinking even about the webinar, Melvette, that's going to be coming up and who gets counted, but somehow including something around parents for the information sheet that we create, why parents count in the census, or, don't be missing from the count, something, whatever it is, but whatever we create that we're going to talk to and try to pull resources as a first draft from some of the partner organizations here within the state. But if you come across some things, please don't hesitate to send it to me or Melvette as we're considering this. And Melvette and I will have a conversation, I think offline, and kind of taking a full look at our schedule when we might have a first draft for people to consider. But just to be realistic, I don't want to start saying a date now, Melvette, unless you are feeling like you have a really good sense of the calendar and can offer that, because I'm going to go on your lead with this.
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. So if that's okay with everyone, that's one of the things that we will start to do for A. And then we go back up again. Thank you, Melvette, for keeping us in the document. The other piece of this is that if you begin to think about everyone, some of the parent partners or the other partners in community beyond our usual people that we might work with that are part of, whether it's U-Plan or Parents for Public School or PLTI, but other people who are talking about this in your local communities, that we also might want to share this information with and pull into the work in some way, figuring out who we might also partner with and share it out once we've decided on what it is that we want to be able to offer during these local, in-person, or regional sessions.
Go
ahead.
Let me just say this: I'm in a different state than some people. I'm in this kind of state that I believe I'm going to talk to a couple of members, maybe about getting a letter writing campaign going to the state leaders to offer some resources. Just go on a media binge. Just keep talking. Just keep doing. I remember a couple years ago, they went on a binge about the quit smoking. Every half hour there was a commercial on everywhere about quit smoking, and then it caused my daughters to make me quit smoking. Maybe I can try to get some people over here. We can do a letter writing campaign to the governor. Okay. He need to just make this more just keep drilling it into the public about the importance of it, you know, and that wouldn't cost us nothing except the price of a stamp.
Okay. Right. And that's going to be another thing we're going to talk about in a moment. So that's good that you raised that in terms of cost factors. Anything else from A that we need to do the next step? Because it seems like the creating the concept first a little bit, drafting it out would need to happen before we could plan any of these other actual in-person meetings, whether it's local or regional or state.
That sounds good to me as a next step.
Okay. And then, and Ricardo, I think, Ricardo, you can start exploring, though, from a media standpoint. What I would love, whether it's letter writing or if there was some other form of media that if, you know, New York let out on it, you know, that may be, because there, again, I'm thinking it's been a while, but I'm thinking that they also do like, you know, some census promos. And so we might want to look into see what the plan is from our states, what they plan to do around promoting the census, and if there's a particular way that they might want to do it to promote to parents and families. Okay. And then with B, develop strategy and talking points, facilitate on the importance of completing the census and overcoming fear. So what we drilled down was that what happens is if this can come from parent to parent, and that we do have to really get people to understand the benefits, would help them maybe go above the fear, to actually just completing it. And so, Aaron, I heard you say that PK, were they either talking about it or did they have video already? Because I even thought that this strategy might be best. Well, it would be great to do one-on-ones in person, right? Face-to-face pieces, but also wondering if the virtual factor of maybe some videos, as Ricardo was saying, if people hear from the Strength of Parent leaders, and you said that PK, they were thinking about doing that. Have they done it already, or they were just thinking about it?
I am not totally sure. My impression was that it is in progress.
Okay.
But maybe not done, and I haven't gotten an update in about a month.
Okay.
So I can follow up to learn more. I also think my impression is that it's a video in Spanish entirely, possibly with English subtitles.
Okay.
So I can also follow up to confirm, you know, where the process is, a bit more context on what's the content, you know, I can learn more, and then share back with this team.
Okay. And because I'm thinking that if we could use that as the template or as the example, maybe even do some conversion to English, but we had different parent leaders maybe doing a video around why it's important, what's the benefit of doing it, what's the data used for, and somehow figuring out how do we then get these videos out there. So which leads me to one of the things I have to say, Ricardo, you're right, in terms of it only costs, you know, the cost of the stamp. But right now there is no budget for this work, right, that we're seeking to do. So it really is about the collective process and the sweat equity of individuals and organizations. So I have no idea with the piece that we're going to draft, what it would cost for it to be something that's a hard copy that would actually be printed versus something that's shared just kind of virtually. And so we can explore that, and then we can see if there's any particular, you know, if there's some special funding sources that we might be able to tap into, but we may have to do these two major strategies from the virtual realm because of cost factor. And so I wanted to say that out loud to see what people thought about that, and also to see maybe there's a resource that you know about around funding work to support kind of the census advocacy that we're talking about.
And maybe one of the ways we can get out, you know, use low budget videos. People tend to listen to people locally,
Right.
Because folks in Mississippi can see a video of folks in Rochester and they think, oh, well, that's in Rochester. But if they see other people in Mississippi, and then they'll be feel more connected to the message, and make it simple enough. As I always tell people, explain it to a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
If you want people to know something,
Mm-hmm.
and that is because the way technology is, we can do movies on our phone,
Right.
and I'm just getting the script for everybody to be able to maybe to do their own video and produce it in their own area will probably be more effective.
Paul, I like that. And you know what I was thinking is that maybe for this second piece, we do this kind of one-on-one, like, or no, this host a local session, right? Then we have as a second step, and locally you can have one-on-one parent-to-parent conversations about this. And you could let's go viral, make a local video, make local videos promoting the value of why census should be done in your community, and then share it with us so we encourage people to do it, and then we ask them to share it with us, not only share it locally, but to share it back with us nationally, so that we can kind of have a sense of what's happening in your corner of the nation around the census. And again, I am not tech savvy, so I'm not even sure what the right way to ask for somebody to then share back a video with us. But I like what you're putting there, Mel, that's perfect. That somehow we have a toolkit outreach so that we give a list of different suggestions for people that they can do on the ground. We give them this little bit of kind of like an information session template. But then we say, and locally, you might want to do boom, boom, and boom. And of course, we like to be informed if you're doing these things. Because I don't think we can with no budget, I'm not sure, in the fact that everything is local, I don't know doing it locally. And so I'm thinking we invite people to do it. And sometimes they're like video, they do silly things on Facebook in terms of, different contests and people doing things. Maybe we somehow make this fun. Again, trying to take away some of the fear factor around it. But that people, somehow we encourage parent leaders to create videos in their communities around the value of the census. And now we might have to, with our own organizations, really promote the concept of doing it. But I'm even thinking we can just kind of put it out there once we have a plan that anyone could maybe say, I'm going to do this in my community. But again, right. I don't know if that's lofty, what I'm thinking. And Melvette, who has more of a sense of the real world of video and things like that, please, you can talk me down.
I wish I could talk you down, Donna. But I think with people having cell phones,
mm-hmm.
you can do your own video. You can videotape yourself.
Right.
And I think that it makes it even more personal. It doesn't have to be all polished and crazy, right? It could just be person to person. Hey, let me tell you why. And that stuff we can upload to our YouTube channel and send it out. It doesn't have to be too complicated, I think.
Okay. But it couldn't be a part of a sheet of different things, local strategies we're encouraging, parent leaders to do, whether you're here, there, or wherever you are in the country.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to make our work. I want us to be able to do these two strategies, but to do it sanely with a limited group of people, as well as a zero budget right now.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts around that? So then, last but definitely not least, we are continuing with census webinars. And so Melvette, when she finishes typing this line, she's going to do the promo around the one that's coming up on June 17th. And we will, if she hasn't shared it already, if you haven't received it, it's been, I think, circulated, but we definitely want to share the link with you, encourage members of your organizations to register. It will be done in English. But we're going to get to we have to figure out depending on if we can find the resources and the right person to maybe offer it again at a later date in Spanish, we might. But this is the one that's really important about who gets counted and the why. So Melvet, I'll stop there and let you talk about this upcoming webinar.
So this one is important, and Ricardo, you alluded to some of the things earlier, I believe, or maybe it was Paul, or maybe it was everyone. I don't know. We're on the same page. So this one is Count Me In, Who Gets Counted, and we're really going to explore a little more history on the census, and then also understand, really it's talking about who's not getting counted. You know, and we know that children are undercounted. That's really important for us to know and understand. And then why, and then also the different people groups who are underserved, right, and not counted and left out. You know, and the citizenship question is another thing that could cause people not to get counted again, right? And then so we're going to talk about resources, what happens when we don't have a good complete count, what happens with resources, what also happens around representation, and how you know, people are represented and who's representing them. So if we're not counting people, then, you know, it's just a spiral effect, a ripple effect.
Yeah.
So we're going to explore all of those things in our very parent-friendly way. We'll have lots of time for Q&A, and I'm looking forward to this one. I'm really excited about it.
And Melvet, if I'm correct me, I don't. Izebe from Miami is joining you on this. Are there other parent leaders who will be joining the two of you to lead this?
We have Izebe. Joanne won't be able to do this one, but she was excited to be asked to be a part of it, but she won't be able to do that one.
Okay.
And we're looking for an additional person, maybe an expert of some sort.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And so did I misspeak? Did we share this in a way that people who are on this call would have already seen the opportunity to register, or do we need to send that out to all of the people from the Racial Equity Think Tank?
It went out. I guess I would look to see if heads are nodding, like Erin, Ricardo, did you guys get it?
I see a head nod, I think.
I got
Erin.
it. Yeah, I got it. Although Rachel from UPlan did not get it. I don't know why, but I got it. And UPlan is going to share it in our newsletter coming out at the end of this week.
We'll make sure we include it.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
So we'll make sure we include the link in when we send out the notes from this call.
Okay.
We'll do that as well.
Great. And again, anyone that you know, when we share information like this, you can share it with your usual network and anyone else that you think might want to know about the opportunity.
Right.
The only other next step that we have to figure out is, one, next time we'll meet, knowing that it's about to be a really just busy season with travel and conferences and a host of other meetings. So I didn't know if people wanted to try for a June meeting, or should we be trying for July?
I personally, July sound better for me. It really is. It's so hectic. If you didn't give me a heads up, thank you for the heads up, Donna.
You're welcome.
That little email, because I was sitting there, I could have got on there, but I was just overwhelmed. I seen that pop up, and that's how I got on.
Great. I'm glad you did. Any other, Paul or Aaron? July? Okay.
July is good for me too. Yeah.
All right.
And July will probably be better for me also.
Okay. And so we'll send out, unless you guys have a set date that you want us to go ahead and consider, we'll send out a doodle poll based on, what we know of some conferences that some people are going to be attending at, including Ricardo and Aaron, I think, who are on the call. We'll stay away, of course, from the IEL dates, because that's in July.
Yeah.
But so we'll send out a doodle poll. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. All right. Any other announcements around what's been happening in your community? Aaron, you kind of gave us some things around UPlan and immigration. Anything else from anyone else in terms of the census or any other racial equity things that we need to be aware of that's happening in your corner of the nation? I want to thank everybody for joining us. Ricardo, I'm glad my little update, and I did that because sometimes when I hit the Zoom in the way that it was in the calendar piece, it takes me to a Google map, and I said, okay, if this happens for anyone else, I want to make it easier. So thank you guys for your time, for your brain power, and we look forward to moving forward with this.
All right.
Melbeck, thanks for being a great host.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, have a good day.
Take care.
Have a good
All
one.
right.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.